What are the best resources for youth dealing with these struggles? And this can be suicidal ideation, neurodivergency, isolation, anyone a part of the LGBTQ community as well, just any sort of youth dealing with all of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So some more like formal supports or resources come to mind, and that does include, for example, the 988 Suicide Crisis Lifeline, right? As well as the crisis text line. Both of those resources are great because they're 24/7. They're very accessible in terms of they're free, right? They connect youth to a trained professional who is able to talk that youth through whatever they're going through, right? And they don't have to be in a crisis, right? Where if they just had a really bad day, right, they can talk to these individuals on the phone, right, or by text. So it's not just for crisis. And I think sometimes people get confused about that, right? But there's also a common stigma or fear that I want to point out that often youth are afraid to use these resources because they're afraid that, for example, 911 is going to be called if they contact 988, right? But that is typically not the case unless they express some type of desire to hurt themselves or others, especially by suicide. Another great resource would be the Trevor Project that is specifically for LGBT plus youth. Very similar to 988 and the crisis text line in terms of they do have that resource for queer youth, right, to talk to someone, right, to connect with someone. But also there's a lot of informal resources out there, right, including, if your school has some type of, student club where students with common identities can connect, they can do so, right? Or if your school doesn't already have those clubs, seeing if you're able to advocate and start a club, right? If your school is limited in that regard where you're not able to have those types of student clubs, at least try to develop a group outside of school where, you meet once a month, for example, like a social club, if you will, that's not associated with school. That could be an option as well.
Subscribe to De-Stress 302 today.